Once, a great monk lay on his deathbed. As he prepared to leave the world, he gave one final teaching to his young disciple, who was also chosen to succeed him. With a weak voice, he whispered,
"Remember, never allow a cat into your life."
And with that mysterious line, the master breathed his last. A large crowd had gathered to hear his final words. Everyone was shocked to hear something so unusual, especially the young successor. He kept asking himself, why would the master warn me about a cat? What does it even mean? The master received his final rites with honor and respect, but the disciple's mind still remained restless. The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. In the same monastery lived an old monk who had spent decades with the master. He was wise, calm, and deeply experienced, but because of his age and weak health, he was not chosen as the next leader. Seeing the young monk disturbed for days, the old monk approached him and asked softly, "What troubles you so much?" The young monk explained, "Before dying, the master told me never to allow a cat in my life, and I have no idea what he meant." The old monk smiled knowingly and said,
"There's a long story behind those words. Let me tell you."
He began. Many years ago, when the master was still young, he gave up his family and worldly life in search of the ultimate truth. He went deep into the forest and lived near a small village. Every morning, he walked to the village to beg for food. The villagers respected him a lot and even built a small bamboo hut for him. He owned just 2 pieces of clothing, but soon rats started entering his hut and chewing on his robes. Troubled, he shared this problem with the villagers. One of them suggested, "Why don't you keep a cat? It will scare the rats away." The idea seemed simple and practical, so the monk agreed. The cat did solve the rat problem, but now the cat needed milk, so the monk had to walk to the village several times a day to ask for milk for the cat. When he mentioned this difficulty, the villagers told him, "Instead of coming again and again, keep a cow. You'll get enough milk for the cat and also for yourself." The monk accepted the cow, but now the cow needed grass, care, and attention. Since the monk spent most of his time meditating, he couldn't manage everything. Once again, he told the villagers about his struggle. They replied, "A spiritual man like you shouldn't run around begging for grass. You need help." They proposed that a widow from the village, who had no family, could take care of the cow, the cat, and even the monk himself. She was hard-working and kind. The villagers even cleared some land near the hut so she could grow grass and vegetables. The monk saw no harm in the suggestion. The widow agreed and moved in. She managed everything, feeding the animals, cooking meals, cleaning the hut, and working in the field. Her dedication touched the monk, and he began helping her in the small field. Slowly, they spent more and more time together. She was young and graceful, and he was still in the prime of his youth. Living under the same roof, sharing the same responsibilities, their bond naturally deepened. They eventually developed feelings for each other. Their relationship became intimate, and soon the woman became pregnant. Months later, a child was born. The monk who once meditated from sunrise to sunset now worked tirelessly in the fields, trying to provide for his family. One evening, exhausted from the day's work, he sat down and wondered, "What have I become? I renounced everything to find the truth, and now I am back in the same worldly life I had left behind." He traced it all back and realized it had all started with that one small choice, the cat. The old monk finished the story and looked gently at the young successor.
When the master told you not to allow a cat into your life, he was not speaking about a real cat. He meant you should never allow even the smallest distraction or indulgence into your mind, because once you permit a tiny weakness, it slowly grows and eventually takes over. your entire life.
If we look closely at our own lives, we often let our minds do things we know we shouldn't. We reassure ourselves, just this once. It won't become a habit, but that single allowance becomes the doorway to bigger problems. The moment you give your mind a little freedom, it begins demanding more. Before you know it, you become trapped. This is how addictions and bad habits begin. Take porn, for example. Many young people start watching it just once, without realizing it can become a chain around their mind. But slowly, it becomes a powerful habit. The same thing happens with junk food. We know it isn't good, yet we give in just once, and eventually it harms our health and lifestyle. The mind is incredibly powerful. It can be your greatest ally, if controlled, or it can become your greatest enemy, if left unchecked. A mind without discipline is like a car without a steering wheel or a fast train without tracks. Lots of speed, but no direction. And that is dangerous. So you must learn to guide your mind before it begins guiding you. Even the great master slipped once, and that one tiny slip pulled him back into the very life he had abandoned. That's why he warned you, never keep the cat of mental temptation, because once you let it inside, it takes over your life quietly, slowly, and completely. I've noticed many of you enjoy these stories but haven't subscribed yet. Subscribing is completely free, and it really motivates me to create more such powerful and emotional stories for you all. So if you liked this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.